My name is Marco Puzon. I'm 55 years old. I'm from Quezon City, and I'm the first Filipino, the first person to visit all the 1,634 towns and cities of the Philippines. I've been working as a researcher for different companies, and I normally travel a lot in the country. I've been traveling since I was around 7 years old. I've been traveling around the country for decades now. I started traveling, I was probably around 12 years old, and by the time I was in my mid-20s or late 30s, I already visited more than 75 provinces. In 2013, after I got laid off from one of the companies I used to work for, I had this crazy idea of visiting all the towns and cities. I started in March 27, 2013. I traveled to parts of Bulacan which interested me, and from then on I've been traveling regularly, and it took me 10 years to complete all towns and cities of the Philippines. But in 2019 or 2018, I made it to Sulu, Jolo Sulu, which was my 81st province at that time. And then a year or a couple of years later, I went to Maguindanao del Sur, which completed all 82 provinces. Everyone has their own goals. I don't see my goals different from any others, but like I have said, I'm the first one to visit all the towns and cities in the country. I've been trying to complete all the 100 largest islands of the country, and I visited most of it. I have 18 to go to visit this goal. And I'm still at the rough part of completing my manuscript about my travels. But then last year, I got the news that we have 8 new towns in the Philippines, so I have to visit those 8 new towns to see them. So you see these places, they're all in Maguindanao, Maguindanao Norte, Maguindanao del Sur. And I have to do that because it's no longer 1,634, but 1,642. Well, when I started traveling around the country, it was more like part of my job because I do a lot of research work in various parts of the country, and it was pretty regular for me to travel as part of my job. But of course, I also do a lot of leisurely travel to different places, and it was only in 2013 that I managed to visit all areas I haven't been able to visit. Well, traveling depends on what you really want to do. When I travel, like I've said before, I'd like to see how the people are. It's not really just the beach or the mountain. It's not just the places or that you actually go. It's about the people that you meet along the way. It's not just about seeing a famous landmark or a famous place. Beyond that is the stories that you hear from different people that you meet, the experiences, their life experiences that they're able to share with you. I think the most important part when you travel is understanding that every place is unique. That's why I don't use, in my writing, I don't use Boracay of the North. I describe a place as it is. I don't believe in placing monikers like Switzerland of the Philippines or let's say Hong Kong of the Philippines. I really don't use that when I write about places. I describe a place how it is by its actual name. I don't like comparing places because I believe that every place has its own charm, and every traveler should be able to find that, appreciate that. Because one of the worst things I would probably hear is that, how come the beach here is not as clean as? How come this mountain is not as beautiful as? I think travelers who do that fail to understand the uniqueness of every place that they visit. And I encourage people to travel with an open mind because there are different cultures. We cannot expect people to understand our culture when we bring it to them. For example, when you go to Jolo Sulu, you're not supposed to wear outfits that might be insensitive to the Moro or Holowano culture. And for example, when all the time I traveled in Holo, I covered up my tattoos because I didn't want to offend anyone. And of course, I think you have to be a little bit adventurous with food. One of the most wonderful experiences are not just eating in a restaurant in a particular place, but it's the home cooked meals that sometimes the people share when you visit their villages or their homes. Travel is not really about a place, but it's how you get to deal, how to share your experience, and also sharing a part of you when you travel to one place. And how do you do that? I think it's important that you just be yourself, be respectful of the mountaintops, the places you visit. I think every traveler must be able to recognize these sensitive parts or places that we cannot just be unmindful of what's there. But it's also a learning experience for me, having seen all the 1,634. A lot of people have been asking me that, where's your favorite place? I really don't have one, although I frequent certain places because I have friends there. What would be helpful when you travel is you get to be aware of the situation. It's also important that you look at the safety, at your safety. No journey is worth the life. So when locals tell you, I don't think it's good to go there today, you can always come back the other day. It happened to me many times. You see, when I was traveling in 2017-18 pre-pandemic era, many of the places were not really off limits, but it was difficult to go to those places because of the armed insurgency or security issues. There was a time that I was almost at that destination that I wanted, but the local said, "Sir, the seas are too rough. I don't think it's good to go there." Or there was an encounter just 3 or 4 days ago, and you really don't have to push. There would always be a situation for you to visit that. And in my 10 years of travel around the country, there were lots of times when I have to defer visits or reschedule, not because of anything, but because of safety, because of bad weather. And if there's always a good thing that's gonna happen, because in 2020, I was down to my last 6 towns, but because of the pandemic, I had to defer my visit. And in 2023, I had the opportunity to visit 3 towns in Samar. They're very difficult to reach, island towns of Almagro, Santo Niño, and Tagapulan. They were very hard to reach. I had to go back from each island back to Calbayog, and from Calbayog back to the other island. And then I also had the opportunity to visit the last 2 towns in northern Samar. This is Capul and San Vicente. And of course, the most difficult at that time to visit was Kalayaan, municipality of Kalayaan, Pag-asa Island. And I've attempted to do that. I've been attempting to go to Kalayaan in 2019. Then the pandemic came. And I was lucky because in 2013, in May 2013, I was one of the first people to be invited to visit the island. For the record, I'm their tourist now. I was their tourist number 1 to visit Pag-asa Island. We went to a couple of other islands before reaching the main island. And I think that's one of the most memorable trips.